Okay, so you know how this whole Sweet Baby Inc. thing blew up in the past week? Where their company was revealed to be behind much of the forced diversity among many companies, like Wizards of the Coast printing Lord of the Rings cards and making Aragorn a black character for no reason other than forced diversity? Where their CEO was revealed to be a wild racist and their company Sweet Baby Inc. used intimidation tactics to force their agenda within those companies that they worked with? How that group on Steam has grown to over 200,000 members, shining a light on the games Sweet Baby Inc. has touched in a bad way, contributing to the commercial failure of those games? Well, gaming isn't the only industry that this anti-woke revolution has been stirring in, and it's ramping up very quickly. The next few years of the culture war are going to be brutal for the activists, as the general public opens their eyes to what the activists have been forcing companies to implement in the holy name of diversity. More people are going to start paying attention, and we may return to a world where games have trans characters and a racially diverse cast because it's good for the story, and not just because representation. While you were distracted with Sweet Baby Inc., Hollywood started feeling the financial repercussions of catering to the activist bullies. Disney found themselves in a financial slump after actually looking at how poorly their movies have been doing over the past several years. And, most recently, Doritos firing their transgender spokesperson because, surprise, surprise, that person turned out to be an absolutely disgusting human being. Laws to ban inappropriate queer books from schools have been kicking in, rulings in women's sports have started to give women their deserved space to compete without the threat of biological men taking that space away from them. Florida is trying to establish a law that will regulate the curriculum and training that schools and workplaces push people through and attempt to curb woke indoctrination that has been growing over time in these places. The most recent example of this is the test that Fannie Willis had her employees take. The answers to that test were, in short, black people good, white people bad. It's in Georgia, but it's the example that I'm talking about here. All of this crap hitting the fan in the year of a presidential election that may see Trump back in the White House after 4 years of rising food costs, gas prices, and enough pandering by the Biden administration to kill me from secondhand embarrassment. While we as gamers are really only concerned with the quality of our games and playing good games where we can share and talk about our favorite experiences in those games, those people, like the ones involved in Sweet Baby Inc., instead are using games to try and change the world to fit what they think it should be by intimidating companies and players. The result of their hard work turns out to be the shuttering of companies and the failure of big budget games, and the clear success of games that want to be good games instead of culture war propaganda. The world is tired of the woke agenda, and now the people who weren't paying attention before are starting to pay very close attention. There's no telling what exactly is going to happen when the dust settles from the most recent activist drama, and I have no real interest in predicting it. But I will tell you this. More groups highlighting games tainted with the push for artificial diversity and such will pop up on Steam on a regular basis. More game companies will be paying attention to the success of games that lack that forced artificial diversity. Stellar Blade is an example that's probably going to be very successful. Disney might be forced to focus on storytelling if they want to avoid losing market share to Bentkey when it comes to children's entertainment. Snow White and the Evil Queen being a very big litmus test for the general public when it finally releases this year. Hollywood might be a lost cause, but if they do start to snap out of their cocaine and wine-induced mania, they may be lucid enough to start making movies that focus on good stories, rather than pretending to be a moral authority for the population. Then other companies might start asking questions before immediately jumping on the Pride bandwagon the way Budweiser and Doritos did. Because if these types of events continue to happen in other companies, more and more people who aren't paying attention to what's going on around them are going to start asking questions. And as much as the rainbow snowflakes want to deny it, they're actually a small fraction of the population. They can't uphold an industry by themselves. The rest of the population is what holds up these companies, and they do not care for the forced woke messaging that is being forced on them. The financial results of all of these companies and industries are more than enough evidence to show that this is true. As a side note, you ever wonder why these woke activists have to take characters and stories that already exist and change them to fit the messaging they're trying to push? It's because they can't create anything new that the general public is going to accept, and they know it. This is why the financial stuff is failing for these companies. And just like J.R. Tolkien once wrote, "The shadow that bred them can only mock, it cannot make." These activists can only copy and twist existing works. They can't make anything new. This is why companies like Sweet Baby Inc. and activists as a whole infect companies and try to change them from within. Something to think about while we watch how all of this turns out. Anyway, that's all I have for you today. You're welcome.